Hi everybody, my name is Patricia and I am a laughter yoga leader and an EFT practitioner. EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Technique. I have been in the field of mental health for over 20 years, and in that time I have picked up tips and tricks to make your body feel better. And I'm going to share these tips and tricks with you. They're absolutely free, really simple to do, and of course very beneficial to your body and your brain, and they've all been scientifically tested and proven methods to help your body feel better. So we're going to talk a little bit about the body. Now, the body has over 100 trillion cells, 206 bones, and 320 pairs of muscles. So the body is actually built completely and entirely for the sole purpose of movement. And sometimes if we forget, we just have to think about our body like a machine. For example, if you left a car out dormant outside and didn't drive it, it would get very rusty and probably stop working and seize up. So the same with our body. We need to treat our body with that respect and imagine that we have to oil the engine. We have to make sure that we're moving those bones and those muscles on a daily basis. So I've got a few tips for you. I've got 3 tips. The first tip is an exercise which was actually tested by scientists and physiologists and also fitness experts to be extremely beneficial for the body. And it's called high intensity interval training. So HIIT, high intensity interval training. And this is a form of exercise where you do very short spurts of exercise. For example, really about 3 to 5 minute exercise, but you do it very, very quickly and you take short rests in between. So for example, you can jog on the spot really, really quickly for about 20 seconds, and then you can rest for 10, and you can do 2, 3, maybe 4 of those rounds, and that would be roughly about 3 minutes. And the reason why they found that this was really good is that they compared it to traditional exercise and had somebody in the lab doing a 45-minute exercise routine, and actually found that the high intensity interval training had the same benefits as far as calories lost and the benefits to the heart and the body as the high intensity interval training. So if you want to try that, that's my first tip. There's lots of stuff online that you can look up, but please, before you partake in any kind of exercise, please check with your doctor. And if you have any underlying issues, for example, back pain or anything else that you might be unsure of, please check with your doctor before you take part in high intensity interval training. So that's my first tip, and that's a really easy way to incorporate something into your life where you don't have to get a gym membership and you don't have to spend hours on end exercising. Literally 3 to 5 minutes a day will have the same benefits as if you're doing that 4 to 5 minute exercise daily. So the second tip is walking, and walking is amazing. And of course we know that from our prehistoric nomadic ancestors, they walked everywhere, and the body is designed to actually be able to bear quite a lot of exercise. So walking is a really fantastic way to get fit and healthy on a regular basis, because it is very gentle on the body and it's also really good for your brain. So when you walk, especially if you walk outside, the part of the brain that sends the stress signal, which is called the amygdala, actually calms down and sends signals to the body, to the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the part of the body responsible for rest and digest. The amygdala sends signals to that part of the body to say everything's okay. And the reason why it does this is because they have proven that the forward motion, and also coupled with the peripheral vision, looking all around, actually goes back again to our prehistoric ancestors when they were hunting or gathering and they were perhaps scared of being attacked by wild animals. Having to be able to look around and have a peripheral vision actually calms the body, because then we can see all the danger around us. And the forward movement has also been related to lowering anxiety. So when we walk, especially when we walk outdoors, we can actually calm the body and the brain, as well as get some exercise. So they do recommend 20 to 30 minute gentle walk every day, if you can. If you can't get out and you still have sort of anxious feelings, or you are indoors a lot, there is an exercise that you can do, and it's based on a therapy called EMDR. And EMDR stands for Eye Movement Desensitization Reprocessing. So there was a doctor, Dr. Shapiro, who actually discovered that when she was with clients who were talking about a traumatic experience, if she asked them to move their eyes from side to side, which was just going like this without moving your head side to side, just the eyes, not the head. When they were talking about the traumatic experience, they actually calculated that the anxiety levels were decreased. So whenever a client would then talk about that traumatic experience again after going through EMDR, they would actually talk about it in a much calmer way. And the reason why this works is again based on the peripheral vision that I was talking about earlier when we were walking, and before, when we were prehistoric ancestors had open plains where they could be readily attacked by a wild animal. Having the ability to look around sends a calming signal to the brain, and it's amazing. So even if you're just in your house, making a cup of tea, watching TV, and you're not able to get out that much, perhaps you're working from home, just doing this side to side eye movement without moving your head actually sends a calming signal from the brain to the body. And that was EMDR. So my first tip was HIIT, high intensity interval training. My second tip was walking. And my third tip now is functional exercise. And I'll say functional exercise because it has to be something that you can incorporate into your life. So, for example, what I'm talking about is trying to increase or push things that you do on a daily basis and incorporate the exercise into them. So, for example, we'll go back to waiting for the kettle to boil. If you're waiting for the kettle to boil, try and do a few exercises while you're standing there. So it could be just getting up on your tiptoes. It could be stretching your arms up and back. It could be twisting your body from side to side. It could be doing a squat or a lunge. And it could even be putting your hands against the wall and doing a standing up, press up against the wall. So all of these can be done literally in your everyday life. They take about a minute. And you can find lots and lots of things online under functional exercise as well. The other thing that I try and encourage people to do is to build exercise into their everyday life. So, for example, if you're going up the stairs, instead of going up the stairs one by one, maybe try and go up the stairs 2 stairs at a time. If you go into a supermarket and there's an escalator, try and walk up the escalator instead of standing on the escalator. If there is a lift, try and use the stairs. If you get off at a certain bus stop to get home, try and get off the bus stop before, just to stretch that little bit and give yourself that little bit extra walking. If you normally go to the shops using your car and they're local enough to walk, try and walk to the shops instead of using your car. Obviously depending on how much you have to buy and carry back. The other things that we can do as well is, even if we're on the sofa, trying to make sure that we're stretching our legs out, and when we're about to get up, we're getting up without aid of the arms or trying to push ourselves up. So getting up, you're using our legs entirely rather than using our arms. So if you're sitting in a chair or you're sitting on a sofa, getting up to try and make sure that you're not getting some sort of support either side. Of course, if you do have underlying issues or back problems, please be careful with this. The other thing I advise is that going back to back problems, if you are sitting in a chair, if you just sit with your posture instead of slouching, try and imagine that there's a string pulling you up at the top of your head, and keep your posture. Every now and again, just sort of remind yourself, if you're slouching, to just keep your posture up, because our spine is actually shaped to be straight with a small tail at the bottom. So sometimes when we're slouching, we might make our spine go into kind of an S shape, but it actually should be more like a J shape. So it goes down and it's got a little tail at the end. So this part should be really as straight as possible. Other things you can do, of course, depending on your fitness levels, is going swimming, playing a sport, taking the dog for a longer walk than you normally would, taking the kids to the park, doing races, trying to just incorporate exercise into your everyday life without making it feel like a chore. Because when we make it into a chore, then we have a big spurt of activity and we join a gym and we do all the great things that we're meant to do for about a month or two, and then suddenly we stop. So the great thing about functional exercise is you can incorporate into your everyday life, and you can do this absolutely free. And when you start doing this habitually, for example, every time you're boiling the kettle and waiting, you start doing your tiptoes or your stretches or your twists or lunges, then it becomes a habit, because every time you associate the activity of waiting for the kettle to boil, instead of just drumming your fingers on the side and getting bored, you actually associate it with doing exercise. And that's the best way to keep your body moving and keep your body well. So I hope that's been useful, and I hope that you will try some of these exercises. Again, there's lots of things online that you can look up, and very simple things that you can incorporate into your everyday life. Functional exercise would be one of them. The other thing I mentioned was high intensity interval training, and the other thing I mentioned was walking. And there's lots of groups out there that are actually lots of walking groups where you can join a walking group and do that as a regular activity, swimming groups, obviously sports teams, and lots of places online, and obviously with community organisations where you can find support and help to get healthy and keep healthy. But as I say, try and move every day, move your body, make sure that those bones and those muscles are not going to waste. And good luck. So I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye.